So as presence, we are the knower of this body. Divine presence is the knower of all bodies. It's pervading and transcending the 5 material elements that make up this body: the earth, the water, the fire, the air, the rarefied air or ether. Sometimes that so-called mind, which is the consciousness that has thoughts in it, and it's all temporary. So we can say that the mind really doesn't exist. Even that which is changing, the so-called intelligence. The source of all intelligence is divine presence. So we say, and we do praise and thanksgiving, do the prayer. But in our prayer to divine presence, we're not praying to something outside of who we are. We are not praying to something outside of who we are. We are really praying to our ever greater, most intelligent being. So we're asking our divine presence to just, if nothing else, just continue, if you will, to awaken our discernment and continue to lead us on the right path to union with you, divine presence. We're not taking you as our auto supplier. This is simply an elementary form of prayer. We're not asking you anything other than more service to you. And for us, service, surrender, submission, offering are synonymous. So when we offer to you divine presence, when we serve you, when we are submitting everything to you, this is to enable us to even think about you more. Because you're always here, more subtle than the subtlest. You make sense and purpose out of this life we're living. We appreciate you. So we say to pray to you, to serve you in everything, to continue to think of you. Our whole spiritual practice here is revolving around always thinking about divine presence. It's always here, always everywhere, all the time. And the more we associate with divine presence, the more our very being is purified of those evil producing spirits that we call lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. They are spirits. They cause us to do things that eventually cause us to suffer, because in our illusory living, trying to gratify those insatiable senses with those temporary objects of the senses, the more we become entangled, the less we become free, the more we become enslaved, and the more we continue to try to do anything, we become sense gratifiers, if you will, or addicts to trying to gratify the senses. That's in extreme cases. We can become monsters, brutes, beasts, trying to gratify the material senses. And they can never be satisfied. And we can never be gratified by trying to gratify those senses, because we're not the material body. So we engage in constant praise and thanksgiving, prayer, study. When we study, we don't have time to waste in trivial material pursuits. We try and study about you, divine presence. We try and remember you all the time so we can study about you, associate with those who are trying to learn about you, associate with books and videotapes and audio tapes and whatever it takes to help us remember you with our honor, self-respect, dignity, and our ever increasing integrity. And this happens the more we are purified by associated with you. So our basic association is seeing everything as spirit, seeing ourselves as spirit. We call it presence. Your supreme presence. We see the self as spirit. We're not the body with the soul. We're the soul of divine presence with this material body, which we call the field of activities. So we say at a certain point, we can continue to offer to you, even as we do our mundane jobs. We don't have to wait until we retire or until we are financially able to just think about you all day long and meditate on you all day long, or to read about you, to study about you all day long. We can offer to you our job, the things that we are doing on our job, whether we're working at the Xerox machine, whether we're walking around a classroom, whether we're supervising a factory, or sewing a piece of cloth, or ironing cloth, or whatever mundane activity we're engaged in. We can do this as an offering to you, thereby always thinking about you. By always thinking about you, we are associating with you, the most pure. By associating with you, we are purified of all of those evil things that make us produce evil and in turn receive evil. And through evil, there's suffering. Why are we suffering? We're suffering because we are sending out evilness. We're sending out mistreatment of others, as we've done to the least of these. We've done it to God, and if we've done it to God, it bounces back to us because it doesn't stick on God. God is not the producer of our evilness. God is not the producer of our suffering. We are the makers of our own suffering. We're the maker of our own return for our evil deeds. So to be purified, the more we are purified through association with divine presence, we are purified of those attributes that can cause us to produce evil and in turn suffer the returns of evil, which is suffering. So this is our purification process. This is our method for becoming purified to the extent that we can meditate on silence itself and gradually meditate on the one who's watching, who's the knower of silence. Thus we are purified, and gradually we can experience the fact that we are becoming more and more awakened to our union with divine presence. Presence is what we are. Some call this soul, some call it spirit. It is that which is the knower of the flesh, of the body. It's the seer of the body. Call this presence. And the goal is reunion with divine presence. I'm the knower of this body. The divine presence, as we get deeper and deeper, higher and higher, if you will, into this knower of this material body, we gradually become more intelligent, become more purified, because this divine presence, which is our very source, is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, the very source of thought, beyond all dualities. We say that this divine presence, this all-pervasiveness, this isness, this nowness, is the source of all radiance, the source of all spiritual effulgence. It's the very light that bestows wisdom. It is the purifier of sins and ignorance, the source of all glory. Someone might ask, well, if you got this divine presence and you say that this is what some people call God, why would God create evil, wickedness? We say, no, that's not true. God is not the source of that. God is the source of presence. And when presence gets confused, identifying with this material body and the ego-ness, this ego that thinks it is the material body, and it must enjoy the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the belly, the genitals, the very touch, then we can become so conditioned to this good feeling, this good so-called taste, which is all illusion. We say it's illusion because it does not last. It's temporary. Anything that's temporary, it doesn't really exist in the true sense of existence. It doesn't really exist. It's really false. And being false, being an illusion, we can never get that lasting satisfaction, which is our nature, through a temporary material thing. We are eternal. As presence, we are eternal. And we seeking eternal pleasure. We want eternal fulfillment. And that is nothing that is outside of us. The spirit, we need spiritual enjoyment, if you will. We need spiritual fulfillment. And a spiritual being, as a spiritual being, we cannot get it through the material. No matter how much we strive, no matter how much we can afford various kinds of material sense gratification, we'll find that we come up lacking in the end. We're not satisfied because we're spiritual beings. So we're saying that this real presence and divine presence is the source of our radiance, our spiritual effulgence. It's the light that bestows wisdom. And we say wisdom is knowledge tried by experience. It's the source of all wisdom. It's the purifier of sins and ignorance. And we make sin trying to enjoy the material body. We are the makers of our evilness. We are the makers of our sin. And the more we deprive others of that, the more we reap what we have sown. We reap what we have sown. That is just the law of the universe. It's cause and effect. So we say we do not to others that which we do not want done to ourselves. That which we do not done to ourselves, we do not do it to others. If we send that selfishness out, that greed out to others, trying to gratify our insatiable senses, eventually that wickedness, that evilness will come back upon us. So we say that our supreme being, who we declare to be divine presence, is beyond good and evil. It's just beyond good and evil. How can we say this? Because we declare that this divine presence, the very source of our being, is beyond all dualities, beyond all concepts of this and that, beyond all concepts, period. It is the indivisible, undifferentiated, no differences in it, supreme, absolute existence, and we call this divine presence. So our business to purify our being of this anger, lust, and greed, and illusion, madness, and envy that causes us to make evil returns to ourselves through our greediness, through our anger, through our lust, trying to gratify that lust, that anger, that greed, which is caused by identifying with being a material body. We are not that material body. We are the knower of that field of activities. This material body is our field of activities. We are the knower. But what is causing us to suffer and to make such sin and evilness that returns to us as suffering, we identify with that material body as the self. So our beginning of purification of that evilness, of that suffering, is to see the self as spirit, or the knower, presence, the knower of this body. Presence, the knower of the objects of the senses. Not the objects, not the senses, but the knower of that. See? So we say, see yourself as presence, and our supreme being as divine presence. And the more we awaken through purification, the more we find ourselves awakening back to our original constitutional position in union with divine presence. And so we say to purify, we have to be purified. We have to be cleansed up from that material identification, cleansed up from that lust, that anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. That stuff is insidious, and it has such a grip on our intelligence that we are thinking that we are it. It can infiltrate our being so thoroughly that we'll think that, oh, I'm angry, or I'm full of lust, or I'm greedy, or I'm in illusion now. Or I'm mad. A person can go mad identifying with those senses, really mad. Mad dog mad. Right? So we have to be purified. So we say, see the self as spirit. Offer everything, all that we do, all that we really offer, all that we give away, all the experiences that we perform, we do this as offering, service, surrender, or submission. They're all synonymous to our Supreme Being. And we chant out the holy name, call out the holy name. The name that you've experienced as being holy, or the name that you have knowledge through your research, through your association with holy people, as far as you know. Chant out that holy name all the time. Call out the holy name. This is not to stop us from relating to our particular religion, our particular philosophy. This is something that we've seen. This spiritual practice is a practice that we've seen, experienced as being beneficial to us. And by the grace of divine presence, that unconditional love, we're offering it to you for your consideration. It's to make us even better, to purify our being. Because we say the more we associate with our divine presence, who is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, the more we become purified, because it is the source of all radiance, the source of all effulgence, the purifier of sins and ignorance, the source of all glory. Through this association, there is assimilation. So we become purified by associating with the pure. And this is our spiritual practice, and this is the practice that we are passing on to those who have ears to hear for their own benefit. Our business is to be a servant of divine presence. Divine presence is unconditional love. Unconditional loving service is what we have to offer to divine presence. And through offering to divine presence, we can benefit others, all others, not just human beings. We say that divine presence is the reality, the very really basic, the quintessence of the reality of all sentient and insentient being. Not just human beings, but the trees, the birds, the bees, the fish, all living beings, sentient and insentient, are pervaded by divine presence. So that all of us as presence, we are within divine presence. Divine presence permeates every subatomic particle that make up this field of activities, but it's never encompassed by all things. It's greater than all things together. This is divine presence. We are presence. This is divine presence. Some of us call this Supreme Being. Some of us call it by many, many names. In ancient Kemet, we call it Ptah. And another part of Akibulan, that's another name for what they call Africa today, what is called Africa today. We call it Jinyami, and many, many names for it. But it's one, it's all pervasive. It's the unity, the divine unity in all the diversities of life. And this is our source. This is our source. Some call it God, some call it Allah, some call it Buddha nature, some call it Brahman. There are many, many names for it. But as long as we can agree that it is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, eternally, never born, never dies, the very quintessence of all being, sentient and insentient. We are present. It is divine presence, the very source of our being and the goal of our activities here at this time, here in presence. Divine presence. The three major steps, the beginning, that any of us can practice. We can call out the name, either internally or externally. Call out a name of what you understand to be divine presence. To be sure, this name should represent that which is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, eternally. That which is always here. It's like here, we cannot deny presence. Presence is here now. And as we continue to associate with presence as the self, and we gradually start having some experience of this higher presence, ever higher. If we look back on our lives today and where we were so-called many moons ago, we can see that we've made progress, and we started making real progress when we started engaging in this spiritual practice of seeing the self as spirit or presence, offering everything and calling out the holy name. We can extrapolate from where we were previously to where we are right now. That yes, there's progress to be made here. And as we continue this practice, then we can see how what is incorporated in this practice for realizing the self as presence and our supreme being as divine presence, we can see how we can repent. We can be sorry. We can ask pardons from supreme presence and presence itself for how we were when we were once upon a time very ignorant and identifying as being this field of activity rather than the lower of the field. That's repentance. This spiritual practice we can see is our atonement. Our atonement. We can, like a minute ago when we talked about presence being the source of all radiance, that's His praise. The source of all spiritual effulgence. The very light that bestows wisdom. The purifier of sins and ignorance. The source of all glory. This is some praise, so we can see how we can praise divine presence. We can see how we can pray. That's prayer. We find that in our spare time, especially as some of us retire from our jobs, or even if we're not retired yet, we can call out the name and offer everything and see the self as spirit while we're doing our everyday work in the mundane.